Hello everybody, it's Mike, and it's time to do another PGP. That's a pretty good play. I hope that's what I'm trying to go for here. I'm just going to fire up the YouTube and make sure that things are streaming appropriately, and then we'll be on our way. So, been a long time since I did one of these things, and part of the reason for that is that, well, it's been hard for me to find time to stream in the evenings lately. My kid falls asleep really late. So today I had the day off, and I figured what better way to start my day off than by playing one of the greatest games ever made. Mega Man 3 is maybe my favorite Mega Man game. Like, I'd recently declared Mega Man 2 to be my favorite, but honestly there are some things that I think about 3 are just better. Anyway, I'm going to start in the classic way of giving this thing a jam, because this opening track is definitively a jam. Let's get to business. So I'm going to start with Top Man. Top Man is a chumpy chump, which is not to say he's as easy as the easiest Robot Masters of Mega Man 2, because those guys are just complete and utter pushovers. I don't think anything could be easier than Airman. Well, I guess in Mega Man 4 we've got Toadman, who is definitively easier, but Airman you can beat by basically just firing shots and running towards him. Hey, free guy. All right. Top Man is not that easy, but he's pretty easy, and he's going to be super trivialized by the slide, which is, of course, the new move that Mega Man gets in this game that he didn't have before. And I love the slide. It's one of the reasons why I think this is a really great game, and potentially the equal of Mega Man 2. The slide gives Mega Man just that little extra bit of mobility, and it makes the boss fights, I think, a lot more interesting and a lot more fair. In the early games, it often seems when the bosses are jumping around like there's just not much you can do to avoid them. And of course, any like super great speedrunner will prove me wrong on that by hitting the entire, going through the entire game, Mega Man 1 or 2 without taking any damage. But, for mortals like me, I think that having the slide makes it plausible to have a really good fight and to, avoid the attacks, as opposed to just trading hits, which is how these games go a lot of the time. Even for me, I am pretty good at Mega Man, but I'm definitely not a perfect expert. And there are some fights where I just walk in and I just shoot the boss with his weakness, and he shoots me, and because I'm hitting him with his weakness, his health meter goes down faster than mine, and I win. So having the slide kind of reduces the amount of times that you just do that, and I always, and I enjoy it a lot for that. As for the charge shot, I don't love it in the Mega Man games. Well, we'll get into that when we get into the later games. For now, let's focus on Mega Man 3. So there's a couple places you can start in this game, but unlike Mega Man 2, like in Mega Man 2 I can start pretty much anywhere and things will work out fine. Heat Man is tough because of the disappearing blocks, like I'd have to practice it, but otherwise, you name a stage and I can start there, and that's cool. Mega Man 3, the bosses are tougher, the stages are also maybe a little harder. So I generally start with Top Man. I could start with Snake Man, but I like to beat Top Man first because Top Spin is the weakness of Shadow Man, and Shadow Blade is basically the closest thing this game has to a really good sub-weapon. Here's Top Man's pattern, nice and easy. You shoot him a few times, you avoid the tops, you shoot him some more, you jump over him. Rinse and repeat until there is no more Top Man. Even as a kid, I think I cracked this one pretty easily, and it certainly does not give me any more trouble as an adult. There you go, all done. Yeah, so I like Shadow Man's stage, I like Shadow Man's weapon, and also there's a cool trick that I'm going to show off to you when we get there. Mega Man 3 adds the neato kind of jumping, absorbing power weapon animation that other games would pretty much always riff on. Oh, and here's a jam. I didn't give Top Man stage a jam. I don't like it that much, but I like this music here, the You Got a Weapon music, so it's gonna get a jam. Alright, let's take that top spin and go deal with Shadow Man. Shadow Man is a really cool stage. I love the color palette of this stage, and I love some of the platforming challenges. And also this music is killer, so let's give that a jam. 2. We should be up to 3, if I'm not mistaken. I love these red waterfalls. I don't know what's in these waterfalls. I don't really want to find out what's in those waterfalls, but I love to look at them. And that super, like, deep, dark red color water in the tanks. Here comes Proto Man, or Break Man, or whatever you want to call him. I think even today I'm a little bit fuzzy as to why this guy is fighting you. Is he like trying to prove your strength or something? I don't know. He's not very hard to beat on a flat stage like this. He's a little bit more challenging when you have an uneven floor because he'll spend all his time jumping around and he's a lot harder to avoid. Hey, another free guy. Man, we're already stacked. Here come the shadow generators. These things are really cool. When they're on screen, you can't see. You can blow them up, but I don't have any good weapons to do that right now, so forget about it. I like the grenade guys as well. Got to deal with them while they're far away, or they'll hurt you. If you shoot this thing a couple times, the lights come back on. I forget what those little walkie eyeball guys are called. I, probably never knew, actually. So Mega Man 3 is one of the games that I had as a kid. My friend had Mega Man 2, and I had 1 and 3. So I got to play basically as much of them as I wanted to, because I could borrow it from my friend for long periods of time. So I don't think that it's just that, when you're a kid, you've only got a few games, and so you tend to maybe overvalue the ones that you have. I don't think that's why I like this game as much as Mega Man 2. I've come back to it enough times over the years that I'm pretty confident in my assertion. I don't think that Mega Man 3 is as iconic. I think Mega Man 2's got much more memorable stuff in it, but Mega Man 3 is a beautifully tuned experience. Doesn't have any of the really crappy gotchas like the Wily Wall Trap in Mega Man 2, and it's maybe more consistently challenging, but it never asks such intense stuff out of you as Mega Man 2 does with the quick lasers or like the Heatman disappearing blocks gauntlet. That said, there are the Doc Robot stages later on, which are quite difficult, but I don't know, I feel like the tuning is generally better in this game. Shadow Man is a real mean dude, and so it's a good thing that I've got his weakness, and he's going to go down to the power of dance, just like that. That gets us Shadow Blade, which is this game's approximation of the Metal Blade. It's nowhere near as good as the Metal Blade. There are people in the world who would argue that Metal Blade is too strong. I don't really agree with them, but Shadow Blade is still pretty darn good. It just doesn't have the range of Metal Blade, and you can't shoot it down for some reason, which is a little weird. I'm going to take my Shadow Blade and my Rush Marine to Gemini Man stage. Gemini Man is one of those bosses where I guess I could probably start here if I really wanted to. You get an energy tank or two in a stage, and it's not that hard of a boss. But like I said, the weapons aren't like super good in this game. A trend which will continue for pretty much every Mega Man game until, I guess 7 has a couple really good weapons, for as much as people love to complain about that game. If nothing else, the Junk Shield is really good. Here's some penguins. I'm going to exterminate them. They probably don't deserve that, but what you gonna do? I should have shot that guy a couple more times before I jumped over him. Like I said, pretty good. Not great. I don't do perfect in video games. That's just kind of a general thing with me. There are games that I love to play a lot of and get better at, but I can't do perfection. It's not in my nature. I always slip up somewhere. I don't have the concentration or dexterity or who knows what to get through a super long game without ever making a mistake. So I would never do like a proper speed run of a game, because I could never spend 45 minutes playing a game without making a single mistake. I've been watching a lot of Super Metroid speedruns lately, and the stuff that they do is just like superhuman, and I don't have it in me. So I still love to get better at games and to learn tricks and to try and improve myself, but there's this upper cap that I'm just never gonna go beyond, and I can admit that. So here's the cool trick I wanted to show you. If you go to Shadow Blade like this, and you go over one, what's that? It's Rush. That looks like Rush Jet. But we're not supposed to have Rush Jet, because we didn't beat Needleman. I guess Needleman. And that's true, we didn't beat Needleman. But it turns out you don't need to beat Needleman to get Rush Jet. If you have Shadow Blade, you can kind of cheat your way into getting it. You pick up some weapon energy for your mystery Rush Jet. Man, so many free guys. Pick up some energy for your mystery Rush Jet, and it'll stay when you switch off of it. Oh, I don't need what's in that mystery tank that much. Mystery tanks have a chance of giving you free lives or energy tanks. An energy tank would be nice, but this game hands them out like candy. And I've already gotten more lives than I'll probably need for the rest of the game if things go well. So I just switched away from my Rush Jet, but if I bring it back, all that energy that I collected is still there. Rush Jet's nice to have in the later part of this level, which has got water, and you'd think that you would want to use Rush Marine, but I think Rush Jet is actually much more useful. Rush Marine is really kind of like a novelty, like it's not exceptionally useful. There's a couple places in the game where I use it just kind of to say that I can. Comes the first giant penguin dispenser. Which is maybe... I should not call them that. They don't dispense giant penguins. They dispense little penguins. I didn't want to get your hopes up. Oop. There's a trick that you can do in this level. There's a trick you can do anywhere in this game where if you have a second controller plugged in, you can make Mega Man jump super high by holding one of the directions on the second player D-pad. And you can use that to skip the little cutscene at the beginning where Proto Man breaks open the metal dome that's guarding this whole stage. Let's use that Rush Jet now. And when you do that, you basically jump through the metal dome and you drop down. It breaks the game something fierce. Like, all kinds of graphical glitches show up, and those penguins, they don't feel so good when you do that to them. So here's why I love to have the Rush Jet in this stage, is that you can basically use it as a safety net for this whole platforming section. Like, I could get through here without it, but there's always a chance that one of these dragonflies would hit me and then you'd fall in the water and you'd lose life, and no one wants to see that, right? That's not good television. Plus, there's a whole bunch of energy that I can pick up to kind of max out my Rush Jet. Oh, see, oh, I almost got hit there. And, you know, every time you take a hit in this section, it's basically fatal. Oh, these are little rabbit guys. I should probably... I'll just get out of here. I should probably switch off of Rush Jet. There's not really any compelling reason for me to be on Rush Jet at this point. Okay, here comes Gemini Man. Gemini Man is actually twins, Gemini Men. His first half is this it's a very predictable pattern where he will shoot when you shoot, and he will just run in circles until you get him down to half health. So I'm going to keep an eye on his health because I don't want to be too surprised when that happens, because the pattern's going to change up. Now, in theory, I think you'd want to use snakes on this guy, but Shadow Blades work pretty well. One more hit, and we should be good to go. There we go. Sometimes I have trouble with that fight, but you get, I think, is it 2 energy tanks that I picked up in that stage? You get at least 1, so you can always brute force it if you want to. Alright, we got Gemini Laser. Gemini Laser is very powerful and it bounces off walls, and it's cool, but it's a little hard to hit with. So I'm not going to use it very much. Now that I have Gemini Laser, I can kind of go anywhere at this point. Gemini Laser is good on Needle Man, so I think we'll just go there. Needle Man is a huge pain if you don't have his weakness. He's big, and he jumps around a lot, and he hits really hard. Oh, sorry, gotta deal with a porcupine. Or a hedgehog? Or like a spiky armadillo? I'm not 100% sure what this guy is supposed to be. You can't hurt them when they're rolling around, so if you don't kill them before they go into a ball, then you just kind of run on by. This is a good level to abuse the Shadow Blade. Lots of stuff in this level will die in one hit if you Shadow Blade it, like those turrets. Another free guy, wow. Bounty is Harvest. See this little thing in the background? It looks like a yellow dome. It's not. We'll find out what that is in about 45 minutes. I like these dragonfly enemies. You can kind of kite them around. You can... They'll charge at you at a certain point, but you can fix what the height of the charge is by jumping at the right time. So they're kind of fun little movement-based challenge. These pokey needles are fairly harmless, but there are some that are going to come up later when we do the Doc Robot version of this level that are much nastier. No, okay, let's... This is a little bit annoying, because killing this hedgehog guy is not worth the trouble, but he keeps shooting needles at you while you're trying to collect that energy tank. We've got 9 lives, and I'm on my 4th level? Unbelievable. These are Hammer Joes. They are annoying. They're never difficult. but they're always a pain. You can slide underneath their hammers, so sometimes you can just charge at them and shoot and slide, and that's good. Mega Man 3's edition of the Stompy Plunger enemy is this guy, who is... Well, I just got kind of hit by one in a dumb way, but they're much less dangerous than the plungers from the first game, and I would say even less dangerous than the sniper armors from the second game. I don't know if I guess I'll bust out the Gemini laser. I don't have a ton of health, and I could mess this up, but I'm so far doing pretty well. The problem with Gemini laser is that when you miss a lot. So hopefully I can connect with one more of these. There we go. If my health got low enough, I'd use an energy tank, because colliding with Needle Man hurts a lot. Scoodly boop, scoodly boop, scoodly boop. I like the needle cannon. It's not an essential weapon, it's basically just like a rapid fire buster. It's fun to use once in a while. But from here on out, we're definitely going to be seeing less of the sub-weapons in the next bunch of Mega Man games. I got needles. At this point, we're kind of starting the second loop, so go take out on the Snake Man. Snake Man is a good starting point. It's not that hard of a boss, and it's not that hard of a stage. So some people start there, you get snakes, and you can go take out Gemini Man, which is the proper weakness for Gemini Man, right? Just love the graphics in this level. Like, this is an amazing tile set. We haven't even seen, like, the really impressive part. I still don't have Rush Jet, and I could be getting myself some fake Rush Jet like I did in Gemini Man stage, but there's not much reason to in this level. There's like one platformy section at the end that's a little bit challenging, but I don't feel like spending the time farming. So Jumbo Stankies! I love these guys. I also love that the floor fixes in place when you kill them, and you're just kind of left to deal with whatever the layout was when you fired your last shot, which is pretty neat. Another free guy. I don't think I can actually even hold any more free guys. Oh, I can. Okay. Mega Man 5 hands out extra lives like candy and actually limits you to 9. I'm still flashing. I guess I got some bad case of permaflash. I once watched a race from a couple of people playing this game. None of them were like professional speedrunners. They're just like me. And none of them knew that you could just charge at those pole vault guys and jump right over them. And it made me very sad to watch them all like stop and let them jump over and then kind of run around. Just breaking up their flow for no good reason. There is a set of mystery tanks up here. Not really even worth it, but... so I need to clear this guy out, or I could just... I'll clear him out because I can, but I could also just rush coil up and ignore this guy. Long ladder. Mega Man's ladder climbing speed got a real buff going into this game. Would have taken him twice that much time to climb that ladder in Mega Man 1 or 2. Alrighty, another sneaky down. I wasn't sure that I was going to be able to do this stream. Oops. Well, now we got to deal with these guys. We're going to get knocked off. I don't like this jump. I'm probably going to rush coil this, even though you don't strictly have to, but I've missed it enough times in my life that I don't want to take the chance. Yeah, I wasn't sure I was going to be able to stream today because we had some plumbers here earlier in the day installing a new hot water tank, and that took a while, and then I thought the electrician was going to come this afternoon to hook it up, but they're not. So the good news is I can stream, and the bad news is I have no hot water. I have all the cold water you could ever need. These little cloud platforms are kind of glitchy, and if you're standing on the top of the smokestack, when they come out, they will sometimes just push you off the edge, so that's not a great time. Thankfully, that time I got lucky, because I could have gotten the glitch there and lost a life. And like I said, that makes for some pretty bad TV. So I always jump before they come out to try and avoid that particular problem. Most of these bullet guys you can just ignore. There's a couple that show up at the end of this platforming section where you want to take them out because they might knock you down into a pit. Here comes Snake Man. Very cool robot master design, one of my favorites in this game at least. Snake Man is weak to needles, so this is not going to take very long. Oops. Well, it will take a little while if I miss because you can only have 3 needles on screen. Then you gotta wait for him to clear off, but no problemo. Let's get our next weapon. So, Snake Search is a really fun weapon that is almost completely useless, as far as I'm aware. Maybe there's some cool uses for it that I don't know. Feel free to leave me a little message in the comments if you're watching. Oh, I should check if anyone's actually watching me live. Rocco is. Hello, Rocco Let. It's me, Rocco. Not Dead Space 3, because I don't have the permissions to change this, so hopefully we can fix the thing in post. Oh, I forgot to give Snake Man stage a jam. That's absolutely worth a jam. Needleman might be, but I forget. Now that we've got that taken care of, I forget. We should do Magnet Man. I've played this game so many times, but I don't have a very clear idea of what my boss order should be for the back half of the game. This stage has got little magnets. They're very cute. They'll pick you up. Most of them are going the wrong way. Some of them will go the right way. If you backtrack, you can get one to carry you through this whole section. Doesn't save any time. It's just neat. Time for another confrontation with Mr. Proto-Man. Another flat floor, so this one's pretty easy. Boop. Haven't lost a life yet, right? My death counter is still at 0, but that's actually deserved, I want to say. I think I'd remember if I'd lost a life. Nice. Let's just shadow. Whoa. Well, you know what? At this point, we're going to take the hit. Let's just run for it. Magnet Man stage has got some disappearing blocks coming up pretty soon, and these little magnet generators that pull you forward. It's an interesting combination of hazards, and I kind of wish that they would revisited this stage later on. When we get to the Doc Robot stages, we'll be seeing 4 of these stages again in harder versions, and this is not one of them. And I think this would make a pretty neat, like, platforming challenge if they, hold on a second. I don't 100% remember the order of blocks. Okay, so just stay on the right side and we'll be fine. Anyway, it would be neat if they gave you a more challenging section of these blocks to do, but they don't. You don't actually need to mess with that magnet generator thing at all. You can just stay on the left side and stay out of its reach. Same with this one. You don't ever have to go on that low block. You just kind of wait a second and jump over it. Which is good because it would be really hard to stay in place on that one block while you're being pulled off by the magnet. This is a real good song. I should give this thing a jam. Another jam. There you go. So, already up at Magnet Man. I suppose I should probably have beaten Sparkman first to get the weakness. It's not an extremely hard fight. I don't remember if Shadow Blades work well on this guy or not. Let's find out. Oops. Oh yeah, they work plenty fine. That's why I don't remember, is because Shadow Blades work on like half the bosses. I guess another thing that they share with Metal Blades. Oh. That was a little too close. Not gonna lie. They could have been less close than that. I would not have been upset. So, let's get ourselves some magnet missiles. Magnet missiles are fun and they're kind of almost useful. If the game gave you a good reason to use them, I could see using them more often. I'm just gonna take a little drink of water. If anyone at home is watching along, input your password to play the home game along with me. Magnet missiles are good against Hardman, which is a hilarious name. So let's go and deal with him. So way back when I started this series, many months ago, the idea was that my boy loves to watch me play certain video games, including the Mega Man games. And I'd played so much of them, it was like, well, I should, you know, put all this practice to good use, do a little video series. And that worked for the first, like, 2 that I did. But then, it turns out that for him, Mega Man games are kind of a summer thing. Oh boy, that's a lot of bees. Getting kind of a Macaulay Culkin vibe over here. And so I actually haven't been playing very many Mega Man games in the last couple months. And that's fine for Mega Man 3 because, again, I know this game very well. Played it many times. But if we ever get around to doing Mega Man 4, and I haven't practiced a bit recently, that's going to be a little rough. That's not a game that I can claim to have tons and tons of knowledge about. I've certainly finished it at least a half dozen times at this point. I should never have switched off Shadow Blade. It's just Shadow Blade all day long in this level. I could have used Gemini Laser to beat the armor, the Hammer Joe earlier, who was up top. It works very well, but you have to time it right because, you know, you can only hit him when his eye's open. And that's a pain. So I just use Shadow Blade. It's much easier to land the hits with. And you get about as much Shadow Blade as you need to finish the level because it doesn't use up a whole lot of energy. We'll slide down here. Okay, these guys, oops. Very small hitbox on those guys. No, I want to go up. I want to go up? Pretty sure I want to go up. Always take the path of most resistance if you want to get the energy tanks. I guess I could have gotten those little health balls if I had taken the low road. Don't matter none. If I get to Hardman on this life, he's really, really easy to deal with using... oops, ow. I got chomped. Alright, it's going to be time for... Proto Man! Now this is a more annoying fight because of the uneven footing. It's a lot harder to avoid getting hit by Proto Man on each pass when he's jumping all the time. Ow. Like so. Harder to do, so I don't do it. That's my plan. Thankfully, they give you a nice big energy ball right here. And there's the door. Oh, there you go, a little refill. Got our magnet missiles ready. Hardman is one of those Nintendo bosses who shakes the screen when he lands, so don't be on the ground when that happens. As you can see, we won't have much of a problem dealing with him. But, like, I don't know which of these bosses I could take out if I was just coming in with the Buster. I haven't explored all the possibilities quite as thoroughly. Alright, one more Robot Master, and then we'll be on to the Doc Robot stages. Sparkman is another one that's pretty easy if you don't have any special weapons. So you can start with Sparkman, but again, I don't super see the percentage in it. Oh, I like the song. I don't really see the percentage in it because I'm not going to use Spark Shot for much of anything. Like, it's good for making the Magnet Man fight even shorter. But it doesn't really have much of an application within the levels. You can use it to stun enemies. But, like, how often do you want to stun enemies rather than just killing them? So that's why I always tend to route to get myself to Shadow Man as soon as possible. The Shadow Blade is fun and useful. Alright, these are a little tricky here. I will admit that sometimes I get tripped up on those blocks. Also, this is just kind of annoying, and I almost never get through here without taking a hit or two. Or two or three. Yeah. Bye-bye. You can time it right. I'm not sure I ever have. So, Rush. Rush is a new addition for Mega Man 3. Basically replaces the nameless items with a canine companion. Definitely a lot cuter than Item 2. This is a Nintendo game, so you gotta pause and switch every time, but one of the best additions in Mega Man 11 when it was put out was that they gave you a dedicated button for all of your Rush abilities, so you could just kind of pop it off whenever you needed to. That's nice, it really makes the flow of the game smoother. I would love to play like a mod for Mega Man 6 that somehow lets you map the armors to a button. You know, I don't know how you would make that happen. Maybe you could use Select or something, because you don't use Select for anything in these games. Now that Mega Man 1 is behind us anyway. Alright, this is the tricky bit. Let's just get Shadow Blade ready. Because now we have to deal with the floaty platforms and the flying bolt guys. And to be fair... Whoa, that was close. To be fair, they're almost helpful because they give us invincibility frames. But this section would certainly be easier if they weren't there in the first place. This is the hardest part about doing this level first. It's not beating Shadow Man, it's getting through this particular hallway without falling down a pit or getting spiked. Okay. I don't remember what Sparkman's official weakness is. He's just another one of the many robots that Shadow Blade works pretty well on. So, assuming you hit him with it. And don't bounce into him too many times. I don't want to lose a life on this guy. That was not supposed to be hard. But hey, any landing you can walk away from. Mega Man bumps his head on the ceiling and collects Spark Shot. Little drink of water, and then we're heading off to the Doc Robot stages. When I was a kid, this was amazing. I just loved it. This whole like ominous scene as the Robot Master portraits crumble and Doc Robot shows up in 4 of these stages. It does not matter what order we do these in because we're not getting any more weapons. So I don't know. Did I pick Needle Man? I think I picked Needle Man. Yes, Needle Man. I pick Needle Man stage first sometimes because it's one of the harder ones. Man, another free guy. Needle Man stage has a very long and tricky well, not platforming section, so it's a rush jet section. You have to use rush jet for. And I think this is maybe the hardest point of the game for new players, is getting through that without running out of rush jet. And to be fair, it is one of the places where the game could be a little better designed, is if you run out of rush jet, eventually you will run out of refills. And at some point you just can't do it anymore. I think you could farm energy off of the dragonflies, but it is a real pain if you run out of rush jet energy. The other thing is that new players don't know the secret to rush jet, which I will show you guys a little later. Actually, I'm going to show it to you right now while I collect this one up that I absolutely don't need. The secret to rush jet is that as long as you're not standing on rush jet, you don't use any energy. So if you spend all your time in the air jumping up and down, oops, like so, then you can stretch out your rush jet about 5 times longer than you could if you were just standing on the thing. And that makes that whole long section where you need to use it much more tolerable. But of course, that's not an official technique that they ever teach you. You have to figure it out. So here comes Doc Airman. And once again, as a kid, I thought this was just the coolest thing imaginable. All the Mega Man 2 robot bosses come back for a rematch in this game. The only problem I have is that I can't remember what they're weak to. Oh yeah, magnets. The only thing is, Doc Robot is significantly harder than any of the original Mega Man 2 robot bosses. In part because he's so big. It can be really hard to sneak in a hit, and it's very hard to get around him when he's moving. So I take way more damage on most of these bosses than I do on like the official Mega Man 2 versions. I don't remember if I need any magnet for anything, so I will pick this up, even though it might be a smarter play to leave that energy for future rush jetting. So in the Doc Robot stages, you have to beat the first boss to get your checkpoint. Now, thankfully there are energy tanks in this game, so it's not impossible. But that is definitely a steeper hill to climb for, you know, most players. So I could see why some people might start to think that the game is actually harder than Mega Man 2 in this area. But if nothing else, I feel like the challenge kind of builds up in a nice gradual way. Uh-oh, I'm gonna get hit with that guy. There's a lot of slowdown in Mega Man 3, and I'm gonna absolutely use it to my advantage. I feel like there's a good ramp on the challenge in this game. You know, you go through the Robot Master stages, and they're tough but not too bad, and then you get to these stages, and they're significantly harder, and then you get to the Dr. Wily stages, and they're a piece of cake. So maybe that's actually not the greatest difficulty curve imaginable, but okay, you know what? I need to get... Let's just cancel Rush Jet and fire it up again over here. As you're doing this section, it behooves you to leave a little bit of energy around to pick up on a second go-around, because it's not impossible that you lose a life and have to do this whole thing again. Plus, you have to go through this area too with Rush Jet. Well, at least the last part. Okay, that is good. So we made it through, but we're not out of the woods 100% because we don't have a ton of energy. Now it's time. Remember those things I pointed out the first time we came through Needleman stage? Well, this is what they are. Giant metals or metools or whatever these things are supposed to be called. They're not very threatening, and in fact, this is probably going to give us an opportunity to recharge our health more than anything. If I can convince one of these little guys to drop a big energy ball. I mean, I might as well fill up my rush jet, I guess, but yeah, so I'm actually purposely kind of stalling here because I would love to get at least one big energy ball before I finish this thing off and continue the stage. At some point I'll lose patience and I'll probably wind up just, oops. I'm not supposed to take hits on these guns, I'm supposed to gain energy. Yeah, I'm kind of running out of patience, so I might not stay here. Oh, there we go, that's what we need. Thank you. Now we can finish that guy off and move on. There's another one coming up. So I think it's really cool that those things are kind of telegraphed as being these weird background decorations that you don't know what they're for. And then when you get back to the stage, it turns out that they're like a mini-boss. Not a very dangerous mini-boss, but it's still cool. There's a lot of cool stuff in this game. Okay, here's another one of these guys. Try and pump a few rounds into them while he's on his way up, because that's when the weak point is going to be kind of closer to us. I have another Doc Robot fight coming up, so it would be good to get more energy, but I don't know. I have a lot of energy tanks also. Alright, let's see if I'll try to finish this fight off next time he comes down to my level. I am a little bit stuck. I guess I could rush jet my way up there. Another free guy, yeah! I suppose there's no reason not to rush jet my way up at this point, because this is kind of getting ridiculous. So one trick that I actually don't do very much is the old rush and shoot. Like, you can just stand on rush jet, park yourself in front of a boss, and fire away. And I know that that's a really valuable strategy that a lot of good players use, but I didn't kind of grow up on it, so I only use it in a few spots. Okay, we do get a checkpoint here, which means that I can suss out this Doc Robot, and if I lose a life, it's not the end of the world. I believe Hardman is the thing to use here. The Doc Robots, so I never remember what they're weak to because they all look the same. Yeah, okay, Hardman is good, as they say. Also, like, most of these guys don't take as much damage from their weaknesses as they did in Mega Man 2, so all in all, it's just harder than Mega Man 2 was. But you get a lot of energy tanks in this game, and apparently a lot of free lives, so it kind of balances out. The next hardest of these levels is Shadow Man, because it's got some very tricky platforming, but also really neat. Some very cool stuff later in the level. I'm not allowed to give this thing 2 jams, am I? Oh no! There's our first death. A little embarrassing. There's not any great reason for that to happen. There you go. You do have to be careful. There's certainly no shortage of places to get killed on this level, but that's not one where it usually happens. Oh, Stompy guy. So these guys only take, I think, 6 shots to kill, which makes them by far the least resilient Stompy guys in probably any of these games. They're also very predictable, whereas the ones in Mega Man 1 were extremely not predictable. And the ones in Mega Man 2, like the Sniper Joe armors, they're predictable, but they're huge, and they can shoot at you, so it's not that hard to get into a situation where you just can't get around one without kind of running into it, or getting shot. Can I? Yeah. Do these shadow generators. So this is a tricky little platforming section. And I could definitely pull out the rush jet here, but I'm going to at least try it once because I find it really fun to do. You have to be a little careful here because if you just keep jumping, you're going to bump into the shadow generator and fall down. So you have to let yourself drop down from the upper platform to the lower one at least once to let it go by. Very satisfying. So, once again, I do not remember who my Doc Robot... I think this is Doc Woodman, and I think he is weak to needles. Yes. So again, Woodman is not the hardest boss in Mega Man 2, but he's just so much nastier in this incarnation. I'm gonna say incorporation. Corporations are nasty, but not really what I was going for. Also, for some reason, I just can't get the timing on avoiding the leaf shield there. There we go. Look at that. That was close. I don't have to use needles on this guy, but it's just fun. Little duck and roll. Ah. So, now we're going to get into another different difficult platforming section. This one is tricky because of this combination of these little rabbit guys, or fleas, or whatever you want to call them, and their parachute friends. I have not found a good weapon for dealing with the rabbit jumper dudes. And this is where I get really frustrated with Snake Search, because Search Snake, whatever it's called, because that looks like it should be... Oh, no. Like I said, it's tricky. Because Search Snake looks like it should be exactly what you need to deal with these guys, right? It goes in a little arc, it flops on the ground, and that's where these guys are. They're too short to hit with buster shots when they're on the ground, so you have to shoot them off in the air. And Search Snake looks like you could just dump it on them while they're sitting on the ground, but it doesn't work. It goes right through them, unless they're jumping. So, I mean, I guess that's a point against Search Snake, right? Once again, I am being a little bit stubborn here, like I could just bust out the Rush Jet, why not? But, I don't know. Gotta keep training, gotta keep my reflexes sharp. Tell you what, if I lose another life on this, then I promise that I will just take the coward's way out. Rather than make y'all sit through it again. I don't like this part when I don't get the rabbit thing. Alright, we're through. I don't think I need any of this. These little slinky missile guys are fun and annoying in equal measure. Let's just go. I don't want to get hit. I believe... I don't remember who this is. That's probably not going to be Needles again. This is Doc Heatman. I don't remember what he's weak to at all. I might wind up eating another death here, just while I remember... Not Hard Punch, is it? Nope. Yeah, this is not going great. Magnets? Nope. Snakes? Nope. Spark? No. Is it just Shadow Blade like everything else? Yep. Alright, maybe I can still pull this off. Let's concentrate. Game Fate. Oh, jeez. They're so big. They're so hard to avoid because they're so big. So I guess I don't love the implementation of Doc Robot, but I just love their existence. I think that bringing back all the Robot Masters from Mega Man 2 was a pretty super power move for Capcom to pull when they put this game out. As a kid, I loved it anyway. I'll do Spark Man. Gonna want some Shadow Blade. I have been spoiled by playing a bunch of Mega Man 11 lately, because that instant weapon switching is just so good. Even better than the shoulder button technique from the Mega Man X games, which seems really primitive in comparison now. Primitive is maybe a bad word to use. You know what I mean. Shadow Blade, once again proving that it is the king of Mega Man 3 weapons. Very useful in this section. We get these little rolly conveyor belts. Oh yeah, you can sometimes jump out of a slide even if there's no ground underneath you. That's always fun. The slide is great. This game is great. That's how you're supposed to deal with those guys. Use the Spark Shot to deal with their missiles. The Spark. I keep calling it the Spark Shot. The Shadow Blade. Alright, I believe it's time for... Doc Metal Man. What works on metal? Magnets, of course. Doesn't work quite as well as Metal Blades, but beggars can't be choosers. No conveyor belt on the floor, so in fact, I would say if anything, this fight is maybe easier than it is in Mega Man 2. Alright, time for the Spike Hallway. This is, I'm gonna say this is not the hardest Spike Hallway in the series. Now we're way down in B10. We only dropped about 3 screens, but we went down like 12 floors. I don't think I actually need to deal with any of these guys. I was always kind of a methodical, prudent player when I was a kid, you know, take out every enemy and make sure the way is safe. I've been watching a lot more speedruns now that I'm older, and I'm getting gradually better at just ignoring enemies that I don't have to deal with. This is also a fairly tricky little spot. Okie dokie. Alright, we made it. I don't remember who this is at all. Flashman? For some reason, I just think that needles work on all of these bosses. Oh, Quickman. Is Quickman another one that you have to hit with the hard knuckle? I remember the hard knuckle being really useful on the bosses where it's the most annoying to use. Oh no, you know what? This is a Gemini laser fight. No, okay, you know what? This is gonna be a death. I don't think there's any way. Yeah, it's not the hard knuckle, it's the Gemini laser. That's okay, we still got so many lives. I don't anticipate losing very many lives on the whole Dr. Wily Castle, because it's really not a big deal compared to this stuff. But, you know, famous last words and all. Yeah, it sure does hurt when Quickman bumps into you. I might have to use an energy tank on this fight, even with the weakness. I guess I consider myself lucky that there's so much slowdown. Thing is, at this point, I don't know if I can soak another hit, so I might be wasting. Actually, I got hit, so I don't know. I might be wasting that energy tank, but if Doc Quick collides with me, it could take off quite a bit of health, and I'd rather just get this done with. Alrighty. One more Doc Robot stage. Doc Gemini Man is one of the only stages where it makes any sense to use the Rush Marine, so we'll probably bust that out a little later. Oops. Doop-a-doop-a-doo. I definitely don't have my movement all planned out the way an actual speedrunner would. Because I am not a speedrunner. Not a whole lot to see in this section. Oh no. Whoa. You almost got to see me lose a life for no good reason. Yeah, not a whole lot going on out here. They've replaced the penguins with these little kind of mouse droids. Here is the opening to this level, which is still nice and open ever since Proto Man came along and took care of that for us. So, just a little bit of digging. Another free guy, why not? Never say no, right? As a kid, I would always make a lot of efforts to go and pick up all the bonus items in those areas. As a grown-up, I don't feel like it's really worth the time anymore. There's a small chance that I'll get an energy tank out of it, but I'm gonna have more than I need pretty soon. I've always loved the kind of carving your path through this tadpole egg section. It reminds me a little bit of Zelda 2, where you get those falling block sections, and once you have the glove, you can smash them. I'm getting pretty hungry. I did not have lunch before doing this, and it's now 2:24 p.m. So, here we got Doc Flash. I'm pretty sure this is the needle boss that I keep looking for. So let's give that a try. Yeah, good old needles. Kind of the metal blade equivalent, I guess, in that they're made of metal and they're pointy. It's what you use on Woodman, so I don't know, that tracks. Alright, this is a place where theoretically you can soft lock the game. If you somehow got here with no rush coil and no rush jet, there's no other way out of that pit. I don't tend to hold that against this game because that has never happened to me ever, and I have a hard time imagining it happening to people because there's just so much stuff you can farm weapon energy from in this level. Alright, it's Rush Marine time. Strictly speaking, there are 2 times when I tend to use Rush Marine. This is the only time when it's really necessary. I mean, it's not even necessary. You can always just use Rush Jet instead. But I might as well use it sometime, right? That's it. I think we're done. I like this room for some reason. These 3 little bomber guys floating around at the top. So, now we got all these holes that spawn, I don't know, robot lemmings or something. They kind of run around and drop down ladders. They're extremely unthreatening, so this is basically just a place to farm energy if you need it. There aren't really any even, like, and there aren't any obstacles even really for you to fall down. There's like one pit, not in a place where you're likely to get hit and knocked down. Very hard to fall in the spikes, so I don't know. Pretty ineffectual section. Someone should have a word with Dr. Wily. Here comes Dr. Bubbleman. Also weak to Metal Blade type weapons, just like he was in Mega Man 2. This fight is not really much harder than it used to be. And certainly being able to aim up with the Shadow Blade makes it pretty trivial. That's it. Doc Robots 1 through 8. They're gone. Time to go hang out with Dr. Wily for a little while. Oh wait, I forgot. It's time for the Brakeman fight. Why? I don't remember. Again, I think this is some kind of anime manga thing about how he wants to make sure that you're really strong enough to beat Dr. Wily, which is like, dude, I already did that twice. You know, I got nothing to prove to you, random whistling guy who showed up in the third game out of nowhere. There we go. And we're done with that. Brakeman, Protoman, who knows? I've always loved that the computer in Dr. Light's lab is an IBN. Oh, this game has a story, which is beyond Dr. Wily has evil robots. This is the very first of the Dr. Wily pretends to be a good guy and then turns out to be a bad guy stories. So we're not supposed to know he's the villain until this sequence here. I don't remember as a kid if I ever actually bought that he was the good guy. I don't know. I was reading Nintendo Power, so I probably already knew that Dr. Wily was in charge of everything by the time I started playing the game. Free guy? I'm not even gonna get it. I got 11 lives. The hard part of the game is behind us. Whatever. This is a very good track, by the way. Let's give that a jam. I don't know if I missed some earlier. There's a couple that I can kind of take or leave from the Robot Master stages. Certainly Magnet Man, Snake Man, and Shadow Man all have really good themes. So, like, there's a spot a little later in this level where we can rush Marine if we feel like it. But it's not essential. These penguins are much more dangerous in the water than when they're being spit out onto the ground by the giant penguin maker. Not going to waste any hard knuckle collecting that either. Take a penny and leave a penny. I will get the energy tank. You know? Plus I'm down a little bit of energy, so why not? We're going to go up to get the energy tank. And then we'll finish a little lower so we can recharge the hard knuckle. You never have too many energy tanks, especially when you're trying to keep your death count low, as I am. 3 deaths so far. One of those was quite embarrassing. I really did not need to lose a life on those Shadow Man spikes where I did. Oop. Ha! I love getting the jump off of a slide, like a floorless slide like that. So satisfying. Let's Shadow Blade this guy. Gotta be careful not to scroll too far back, or as you can see, this guy's buddy will reappear, which is just a little bit annoying. We've got a disappearing block section, but this particular room does not have a whole lot happening, because you just jump up here and slide through, and then you're done. I don't know why anyone would do it any other way, because that energy is right there just begging you to pick it up, so I don't know. Oh, it's not the... I always think that the first boss from the Wily Castle is the Mega Man clones, but it's not. It's the turtle generator. So far we've generated penguins and we've generated turtles in this game. This is a very easy boss. Shadow Blade is the perfect weapon because these guys come at you from all angles and generally from above. So you're probably going to guess to use that first, and you're going to be right. And there we go. Pretty trivial. There's all of, I want to say, 1 hard boss in the Dr. Wily Castle in this game, and it's borrowed from a previous Mega Man game. Some people don't like the fact that this game has got easy Dr. Wily stages. I don't mind. Kind of relaxing. And I've barely used any weapon energy. I'm just going to keep on trucking. Oh, I got a free guy. Didn't even mean... Oops, I didn't get a free guy. Who cares? Keeping it profesh. So this whole little hallway is kind of funny. Gonna have a lot of bees to deal with. I should get my Shadow Blade ready. It's very satisfying to aim that Shadow Blade in such a way that it just barely contacts the bee and clears out that whole thing for you. I'm gonna rush that over here, and this is where we're gonna start to get extremely generous with the old E-tanks. We've got one here, and another one immediately afterwards. I don't even know why they felt the need to give you this many E-tanks. We are going into a somewhat difficult fight, but come on. So, hey, Nexus Creed. Shell, yeah, that was, I guess that was for the turtles. It's the Yellow Devil. And this fight was really, really hard in Mega Man 1. It's a bit easier in this game because you have energy tanks and you have a slide. So you can, if you time it right, you can just duck underneath. And I did not time it right. So I'll probably need to use energy tank. But the point is, this thing was a real roadblock in Mega Man 1, and I've only once beaten him in that game without using the pause trick. Whereas he's much more of a minor hurdle in this game. Alright, up and under and hard knuckle. Did I get 2 of those in? Just barely missed it. Yeah, that's a much harder pattern to avoid. I guess the saving grace is that it's shorter at least. I guess I probably could have done a 3rd shot there. Oh. The Wily boss theme is okay. It's making me wonder if I should have nominated the regular boss theme for Jam. I don't think I like the Wily one quite enough to give it one. Mega Man 2 definitely has the stronger soundtrack. There's some really good music in this game, but Mega Man 2's soundtrack is just unquestionable. But this is a great song too. Both of the Dr. Wily themes are really, really good. Which is nice, because in Mega Man 2 you get halfway through the Dr. Wily castle and then the music starts to suck. Nexus wants to know which game is better. Like I said at the top of the stream, it depends what day you ask me on. They're both so good. I think recently I've kind of decided that Mega Man 2 is maybe my favorite of the two, just because it's so iconic and memorable. Certainly, like, if you just ask me to think about Mega Man, the first thing that's going to spring to mind is any number of scenes from Mega Man 2. But I think this game's got so much going for it. I think it's better balanced. It has fewer bad gotchas in the design than Mega Man 2 does. So not quite as... The highs aren't maybe not quite as high, but the lows aren't as low either. And I love the addition of the slide. So yeah, I mean, there have been times in my life when Mega Man 3 was my favorite game in the series. It is maybe not right now, but it's such a close second. I don't think there's any point really in arguing about it, like, they're both so good. I mean, honestly, if we're 100% being honest, if I was to make my top 5 games on the Nintendo Entertainment System, Mega Man 2 and 3 would both be the first 2, I think. And for the thought exercise, I'd probably also tack on Bionic Commando, River City Ransom, and I guess... I want to say Mario 3. Mario 3 is definitely the canonical choice. Personally, I think I like Mario 2 more. So, I mean, I'm going to be honest to myself. Mario 2. Here's the Mega Man clone fight. I might actually need to energy tank this, because I'm not doing a great job. I'm not paying a lot of attention here. I'm thinking about River City Ransom, I guess. Let's use an energy tank. So there's 3 guys. Only one of them can actually be hit every time they appear. You never know where they're going to be. Needles are fun to use on these guys. I learned that from a Howard and Nestor comic from Nintendo Power in, I guess, 1990 or something like that. I don't remember if... I think it was Nestor who was the Mega Man clones, and Howard shot him with the needle cannon, and he said, "Quit needling me!" And I remember that. 30 years later. Because you don't get to choose what stays in your brain, apparently. This level has got some really cool graphical effects for the Nintendo Entertainment System, with these pipe things that are in the foreground. Joe would be very mad if he was here, but he's not. My stream. I think they look really cool. And this level is short enough that it kind of doesn't matter. I will say that I'm not a huge fan of the like little rock golem throwy guys that show up in this area, because I don't know how to beat them without taking a hit. Maybe there's some weapon that I haven't tried using on them that clears them out faster, but I almost always take a hit, and that seems kind of pointless. So, you know, appreciate that Mega Man is standing behind some pipes. Woo! There's 2 of them in this room, I forgot. We're about to get into the refights. I never remember in any of these games which robot master is linked to which teleporter. Depending on which one I go through, I can either farm some health back or I'll lose some. So Snake Man, I can probably make this into a net positive, right? Because I would like to not die if I can in this. I mean, or, you know, I'll probably die like maybe once in the refights. I almost never get through them all without losing a life, but I would like to stretch that out for as long as I can. There we go. Question is, when will I run into Shadow Man? Needleman, also one of the nastier ones. I've got 8 energy tanks. If we're being honest, I could just tank it for the rest of the game, basically, and be fine. You don't want to stay... There's like a certain danger range from Needleman where he can do his little hat spike at you when you're like a couple inches away from him. That's a bad place to be. I said Spark Shock, right? I have not used Spark Shock for anything in this game, so let's... Yep. That's the thing. Of course, I'm not actually doing very well, despite having the weakness now. Oh, I hate the freaking metal Magnet Man shield maneuver. There we go. So we're keeping it pretty constant at this point. I wouldn't say that I've gained much health on that fight. Gemini Man. This is another one where I kind of expect to break out even Steven, but now I have Search Snake, so I might as well use it for something. I always do this thing where I combination jump and shoot at the same time. That way he jumps, and I go over him, and he takes some damage. Just mash both buttons at the exact same time when he comes by. Alright, this one should be a gimme. Alright, magnet missiles out. There we go. That was not quite a gimme. Top Man! Now we're talking. Do I even want to use Hard Knuckle on him? I mean, I might as well. Just to save some time. Nope. Man. Yep. I was worried there for a second because my guy stopped moving. I thought the game crashed on me. Which would be kind of an ignoble end to the stream because I don't have a password or anything, and I guess I could always look up a password to start over the Dr. Wily stages, but I don't know if that would qualify as pretty good, right? Only one guy left, right? Sparkman? Mm-hmm. Oh, come on. Like I said, this is not supposed to be hard. I just keep missing. Make sure you... Oh, I didn't get the energy. I guess I did. I don't know. So... What do we need? We need top spin. Another free guy. At some point, it's actually detrimental to have too many free guys. But we're entering a new level, so it's not a big deal. But at some point, if you run out of the weapons that you need, if you never need to continue, you never get your energy back. We're gonna get some... That's a lot of Shadow Blade. Spark Shock is good on this boss, I want to say. What do we got here? More energy. Well, alright, let's get some more Shadow Blade. We are gonna need top spin eventually, but that's basically full. I don't know. Probably don't need any of this stuff at this point. Little tiny bit. Perfect to top off our top spin. I forget if I want to start this fight with Spark Shock or the other one, so let's just use Spark Shock for now. So, it's time for the Dr. Wily machine. Which, of course, Not since the first game has the Dr. Wily machine actually been the final boss, right? Mega Man 2, you have Alien Wily. Mega Man 3, well, I don't want to spoil the surprise. We're going to switch to Shadow Blade now. So I think this is one of those places where it might actually be good. Oops. This is a good way to do a lot of damage and take a lot of damage. I think this might be one of those places where you can just use Rush Jet and park yourself in front of Dr. Wily and just take all his health off, but as you can see, I did not do that. I opted for Brute Force. We beat Dr. Wily! And he flies about 100 meters up in the air and then he lands, but guess what? It's not Dr. Wily. It's like a weird Jack-in-the-Box toy Dr. Wily. And so now it's time for the secret level. So, is there anything that I need? I'll take some more Shadow Blade. Get it here. I'll leave all these treats for another time. Time to face Gamma. Gamma was supposed to be some kind of weird... I don't remember if he was supposed to be a peacekeeping robot. Also, note the little actual Greek letter Gamma on his forehead. That's very cute. Anyway, he's very big. We're only going to see this part of him. The first phase is pretty easily taken care of. With the Shadow Blade. The second phase is not too bad, but that fist will kill you if it hits you, because those are official spikes on the gloves. And now, time to finish it off the only way we know how, by dancing. You can also use Search Snake, but Top Spin is just so much better, and it's one of those, it's like using Bubble, Lead, or Lead to beat Alien Wily. It's like they intentionally you made the least useful weapon in the game, the one you need for the last boss. At least Top Spin is delightful. Oh, it's too late. Proto Man is back to save the day. Alright, and that's it. We've finished the game, and now we're going to get to see a really nice credit sequence for a Nintendo game. Maybe not quite as memorable and moving as the one from Mega Man 2. But it's the one where we get to see all of the history of the Robot Masters, and we get nice portraits for the ones from the first game. And I like this song from here, the kind of extended Proto Man melody at the end. I like seeing what all the Robot Masters are for. In the later games, they all apparently have reasons to exist, but for the most part, you don't see them. Yeah, Nexus says, Wily got crushed, no Mega Man 4. Well, good news and bad news. You may be surprised to learn that there are actually several more Mega Man games in the series. There's Cutman, the timber-felling robot. Roll, the housekeeping robot. Well, look, it was the 80s in Japan. They weren't being extremely progressive with these things. Roll eventually does get a moment in the sun as a playable character in Mega Man Powered Up, which I've never actually played myself. The only thing is she uses stuff like brooms to attack, so definitely some rigid gender roles happening in Japan. I still don't entirely understand why that little eye floats to the top of the tree. I guess that's supposed to be Dr. Wily spying on you or something. It looks like his capsule, but it's really small. Anyway, this is also a pretty cool song. One more jam for the road. I think that puts us up to 10 jams and 3 deaths. And how long have we been doing this for here? I've been streaming... Do I have a number somewhere? A little over an hour and 8 minutes. So the games get longer as you go on. All the later Mega Man games have double castles, which I hate. This one has the Doc Robot stages, which are super cool, especially because you get passwords between them, so you can kind of take a break anytime you want and come back. So an hour and 10 is pretty good. I want to say that the ones that I'm less good at that have double castles, it might take me like an hour and a half to finish. But I was expecting this to take longer, so cool. Aside from that one death on the spikes that was really not necessary, I think that was pretty good, right? That's the whole point of the series. I know I got knocked into the pit on Shadow Man stage by one of the enemies, but that happens. Like I can't claim that never happens. So 3 deaths for the whole game is pretty good by my standards. So I think that's going to be it. I don't know when the next time I'm going to do one of these is, because it's hard for me to do them in the evenings, and I only get about 2 days off a year where I can just sit around the house and stream video games. So I don't know. Maybe by the time Mega Man 4 rolls around, I'll actually have practiced it some, and I can put on a half-decent show. In the meantime, thanks for joining me or watching the video. I have been Mike, and I'll see you around here, there, and every other place, but mostly on the stick. Bye-bye!